again tonight, bringing you a doubleheader of main games, closing out the Season 5 playoffs on the road to the GXL, which again is in 2 weeks. We'll start the pistol round with Selfless on the CT side, WOOSAH on Terra side. We're going to see a Fast Cat from Whitehound, although he's, I think they're opting to just hang at the bottom of the stairs, maybe get a little intel on those two WOOSAH players in lower B tons. The bomb is staged up outside of long double doors, and curiously enough, there's really no one contesting long for the CTs except for the number 5 man who's watching it from plat. But it looks like it's going to be... Actually, it looks like they're trying to sell a mid to B, but the bomb is still at long double doors, Launders.
Yeah, and they pushed back some of this cat oppression, and wow, taking them out right away. So they've got an open entrance in the cat. They know one jumped off. And they'll just have to win a couple trades here to have the site.
And Quicksilver is a man on an island on A plat, forced to reload, but not taken down. Finally, Arcade gets him from behind, so that'll get them control of the A site. Likely going to get the plant off here with Razor and Anomaly still up for the CTs. Anomaly's on catwalk. Razor is rushing to join him, so they're going to try to retake from the same position. This is going to be tough to do against 4 terrorists. Oh, very nice nade. Picking up one with the bank shot. That's a good start on this retake, but they're going to have to work quickly because neither of them have a kit. And WOOSAH just too strong with the guns there. That's a pretty nice, slow, methodical take of the A site.
Yeah, I mean, with the way that both teams were set up, we had a pretty standard default from both sides. And we had Selfless with a default that countered WOOSAH's, which was the 2 cat with a boost so that you could spot lower. And with 2 players in lower, they weren't able to hit that shot. And then when they jumped up on Xbox, they weren't able to kill that guy. And then they had to give up so much ground going all the way back up to A that it just made sense for, you know, the Glock train to happen, everyone to bunch up and then just push A like they did. And unfortunately, Selfless just weren't able to hit their shots because even if they were able to get one, it could turn the entire strat around. But they pretty much let them all up cat before that happened.
And this time we're seeing WOOSAH opt for a scout buy off of that win in the anti-eco here. And we're seeing aggression from Selfless pushing up mid, and they're paying for it as 2 of them are dropped. That's a 3rd down, and not looking like a successful eco here for Selfless. They've yet to do any damage, let alone drop a gun. As WOOSAH just biding their time, playing smart, given that they went with the Galil buy and the the scout, excuse me. And just playing from distance, kind of expecting Selfless to be aggressive and come at them, which they did. And so now they'll have easy entry into the A side to get the bomb planted. If they move quickly, they're just going to hunt down the final CT Kusta. Easy 2-0 for WOOSAH.
You know, you have a whole bunch of players that didn't die on that round, and so this might be a time where you think about like an early buy, but the money's so low, and you know that the other team has mostly Galils. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. It's likely they're just going to save one more time, hopefully get some picks. I'm not sure they have a strat from this round, but most of the onus of their CT side is going to come down to the next rifle round.
Yeah, going with the smart route. We've seen surprise buys before. I think Elevate is one that we saw use that a lot, particularly on this map. But playing smart, playing the numbers are Selfless, and we'll save another round. And this time it looks like WOOSAH, I think they really like mid-control from what I've seen so far. They've kind of gone with that in the first 2 rounds, and now they're actually moving up catwalk as Selfless is stacked long. So Quicksilver is in for a rude awakening if they actually do decide to push up cat, but the bomb is staged at Palm. And again, WOOSAH playing really slow and methodically despite having that equipment advantage.
Yeah, they're just waiting for Selfless to make a mistake themselves to make the round easier. If you have 5 men up, you drop a Galil, you know, it can really all go downhill from there if they're able to take that gun. So it's in your best interest to first find out where everyone is, and then hopefully find a player pushing when they shouldn't, or get someone to rotate, you know, just for the sake of having a good stack going on. And now that they have some information, they smoke mid to B, this is the right play. I feel like they're a little bit afraid that too many players are going to be at A, and they're correct about it. So,
yeah, very textbook information gathering from WOOSAH's. You see one of them pick up the rotator, and they waltz into the B site, which as soon as they get in there, they realize it's empty. Call for the bomb. It will get planted. But one gets picked off through the double doors. A little aggressive peek there. And another rotator picked up by RK. He's doing a nice job. He's going to hold them off at CT spawn. And with no kits and no decent guns, Selfless has no chance of getting the defuse here. Another round win for WOOSAH. It'll be 3-0, and we'll go into the gun round. We'll see if Selfless can get something going here on the CT side. It's looking like it's all WOOSAH right now, and they're doing it on the back of some slow, methodical play.
Yeah, and if we see that trend follow into the rifle rounds, they should have a pretty good time on T side. Though we don't know what Selfless have in store, because like I said, on the pistol round, it seemed like they had the right answer to the strategy that WOOSAH had, which was their default, and that ended up being two players going lower, but they weren't able to hit their shots, and therefore that's why they lost the round. But as long as the aim comes back up and the strategies stay as good as ever, it could go both ways. A lot will be told as this round plays out.
Yeah, definitely a lot of implications on the first gun round as we see op looks for both players. Dan for WOOSAH, Quicksilver for Selfless. Having to forego the head armor to pick up that op, but not too big a deal when you're going up against AKs. And again, some slow play from WOOSAH, and they like staging that bomb up at Palm Tree. I guess they feel like it's a safe spot, and it gives them a lot of options to go wherever they want to once they do gather that intel. And again, taking early control of Catwalk, but not really pressing the issue. They don't really push into the A side too much. More looking for Selfless to expose themselves and give them the intel so they can make a decision off of that. Again, still waiting slowly as they have moved the bomb up to mid at double doors, dropping it off. And you're seeing Selfless actually contest mid this time as smokes are out, looking like it might be a mid to B, but WOOSAH playing slowly as they've done thus far in the first 3 rounds. Here they come as Anomaly is able to drop one, but the trade out comes from Check. He's still got CT smoked off, so he should be able to get entry through double doors into the B site. Nice piercing headshot onto Razor, which will get them entry into the site as RK, the lurker, looking to keep him honest at CT spawn. Check trying to keep the killing spree going. He gets another piercing headshot onto Kusta. Now Whitehound and Quicksilver are the only 2 CTs left. They're caught in CT spawn, mollied off. They will be forced to retreat, save their guns, and another round win for WOOSAH, but this time in an important gun round.
At the beginning of the round, Selfless had a really good idea of how to hold off WOOSAH based on the way that they're playing their picks, and didn't allow any trades to come out early on. And they ran that timer out, forced them into a strategy, and we're hoping that it was going to be a fake, because ultimately, if they didn't think that it was going to be a fake, I think they were a little bit slow to rotate in order to defend from a mid to B. And if they lose this off, it's going to be a big deal. Oh, wow. This is a really important save. Good kill by Quicksilver. But ultimately, it looked like it was going to be a mid to B. It ended up being a mid to B, and you had Anomaly out there, had to defend by himself with his teammate in CT. If they kind of really counter-flashed and smoked him out and stalled for a little bit longer, it might have been a little bit easier for them to shut down the aggression and have a fair retake.
Yeah, that's a good point, as we now see Selfless again on the save, although Quicksilver, he was able to hold on to his AWP from the previous round. His teammate was not able to stay alive, although he did drop one gun in that final engagement, so not too terrible of an engagement, but certainly, given that they're saving now, they would have liked to have had that M4 as well. So unless something crazy happens, it'll likely be 5-0 for WOOSAH, and we'll have to see what Selfless can do once they get back into another gun round. As again, WOOSAH just playing methodically, and I like that. They're patient, even though they probably think they have the equipment advantage again, as Selfless, surely is saving in their minds. They're not forcing the issue. As Dan, very nice, piercing headshot onto Anomaly, catches him peeking from the A ramp, so that gets them entry into the site, but the bomb is way, way behind at Palm Tree, so it's going to race up Cat as Quicksilver picks up Check from the pit. And you'll see the rotates from the CTs. They don't have guns in their hands, and they run into that AK of Sly. So here comes the bomb into the A site. We've got Dan defending the plant. Oh, he gets picked up by Razor. Shot in the temple. That's unfortunate. He didn't see that one coming, but the bomb does get planted. So now it's up to Whitehound and Quicksilver. Again, Quicksilver's still sitting basically at pit with that op, and he probably doesn't want to risk it. Likely will be trying to save again as Whitehound has found himself an AK, but gets taken out by H-Win, trying to get into the site. So if you're WOOSAH, you probably want to hunt down Quicksilver here.
Yeah, most likely. they'll still be buying next round, but that's a lot of value on a team that is on a save at this moment, and they're gonna look for him, and they probably will find him.
Oh, they've got him isolated now. There's no way he can survive this, and he doesn't.
One of them did die to the bomb, but they've got tons of money. I feel like they played the retake there properly in the sense that you're sending one player up to see if you can get a pick, see if people are going to make a mistake, but you're holding the op back in pit because at the end of the day, it's not very likely you're going to win the round, so it's better to play for next. Now, he's still going to have an op this round, but that's a lot of value that he was trying to save, so the thought was good.
Yeah, a lot of value recommitted to this round. They will be buying up, though, so another gun round. We'll have to see if Selfless can get back on track here against WOOSAH, who's looked pretty much in full control right now so far. Again, playing patiently, keeping that bomb staged at Palm Tree, although a different look for Selfless this time. They've got 3 pushed up into B tunnels already and 2 at long, basically giving up catwalk and mid entirely. And they're doing this on a gun round, which is kind of interesting to see, although I'm sure they feel like at this point they need to get a little unorthodox and throw a different look at WOOSAH because they've been dismantled thus far.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe it might be more in their interest to start to look for information once that timer starts to kick down, instead of, hold your spots and then wait for a full-on execute with no extra men to stop it. So you play this 1-1-3 setup, and then you come against a mid to B in the last few seconds of the round, and you don't have proper defense for mid to B, then it's kind of your fault because you did a good job of delaying them, but at the same time you didn't respond to what you saw.
Right, exactly. Gathering that intel, but not taking advantage of it as Sly gets a great entry into long as he drops 2 of the defenders with headshots from his AK. Woo-hoo-hoo! And picks up the 3rd headshot onto Razor and CT Spawn. Very nicely done, winning on the backs of their guns that time. WOOSAH up 6-0.
Yeah, so I like how WOOSAH are using the round out, and it's basically just using their information a little bit better than Selfless is. The issue there, as we've mentioned, is if you have 2 players in the pool, then they have to shoot players coming across cat. They're at a disadvantage because they don't have the option to hide. They don't have sight boxes. They don't have the ramp. And once you give up the advantage, you give up A. Once you do that, you're also probably giving up the picks because you don't have anywhere to hide. And that can be a big issue. So here's one thing that changed. Okay, they got an early pick with their aggression. So now if they fall back to their defaults and they hold their spots, they'll have a much better chance at holding off a full-on execute, because what they've done properly is not give up picks throughout the round. So if they can play it out like they did on that first buy round that we saw, they could potentially, with the same strategy, hold off a lot better just because there's not 5 players left.
Yeah, that's a great point. The advantage onto Selfless, the first time we've seen it to open up a round. As now we're seeing something a little different from WOOSAH. They're going to take the bomb the long way around through T-spawn into upper B tons. But you can see on the mini-map there, Selfless favoring the B side of the map. They got 1 in sight, 1 outside the doors, although now it looks like number 2 man, Razor, is going to rotate through CT. But the bomb is definitely looking to go into the B site. We'll have to see how that engagement shakes out. Anomaly hasn't even peaked, so he's got no intel yet. But Sly has the bomb. He's in for a rude awakening when he comes around this corner. We'll have to see what happens. Oh, there's the opening shot. He gets dropped by Razor, though, in the trade-out. So Selfless finally getting on the board on the backs of their guns there. And that opening pick, like you said, Launders.
Yeah, really made a big difference. They're able to play 2 in B and 1 outside of B, as opposed to the rounds where on the first rifle where they had 1 in B and 1 outside, and Razor himself was able to get 2 holding off mid doors entirely by himself. So some of that did come down to the fact that they had the proper setup, and also it helped them out that they had the man advantage. But they did a little bit of both, so I think there's a little bit more of longevity in their CT game, as they weren't relying on just their individual play that round.
Yeah, it was nice individual play to start it, but then they played disciplined to conclude the round and took advantage of that 1-man advantage. As Razor gets another opening kill with that headshot on the Sly, and I like this aggression going into B tons, kind of keeping WOOSAH honest, not letting them stage up and gather intel like they had done in the first 5 rounds, or first 6, excuse me, as they went 6-0 against Selfless. Selfless definitely wants to pick up this round though, because they've lost that losing bonus, and they'll most likely be on the save if they lose this here. As check trying to control that spray in a 180. He drops Razor to even things up at 4-on-4, but Anomaly is down to 1 HP as he picks up a frag. And look at this lurk position by RK picking up the push from Long. But now it is a one-man advantage, although barely, for Selfless. Dan is moving up with his op. Cat sees Kusta, misses the shot. Kusta will call for the rotate as that nade does some serious damage. And I'm not sure what H-Man was doing there. He could have planted for Cat and decides to go up over the top with the bomb. Loses his life as a result, so it'll be up to Dan and his AWP to win this round. Check an elevator. I guessed wrong, as there was no one there. He should be able to plant now safely. Oh, he's going for the fake as he hears one below him.
Oh. But he scoped, so it didn't matter. Yeah, I don't know. That was a weird play. Like, if they had committed to that mid to B, which I think they just didn't want to do twice, they would have pretty much had complete success, as they got Razor out mid who got 2 picks last time, and they had one player in the site which they would have known about, and they didn't do that. Instead, they got flanked, they left the bomb back at Long, and that really cost them. And then once they got up on A, it was a weird 2v2. Dan wasn't able to hit off Kusta. Kusta did a lot of damage. And ultimately, they just, I don't know, they put the bomb up on the box. A couple of mistakes, I feel like. And now they're on save.
I think it just kind of broke down on, towards the end of that round. And like you said, as a result, they're on the save here. So momentum swinging to Selfless now. This is just down to H when he gets executed at window. A clean sweep for Selfless on the eco, saving all their guns. So nicely done by them to start to build up some bankroll now that they've won three in a row.
Yeah, and I just don't know why WOOSAH would feel like less confident about doing something that worked at one point, especially when they got that opening pick on a player that was outside at mid. Maybe because they saw 2 in B that one round where they tried it and lost. But at this point, WOOSAH are back on a bye. They shouldn't feel too bad about the score because they did get 6 rounds in a row, but they were losing a lead, and Selfless aren't really changing up their style. They're just being more successful with the style they have. A quick super went for that early pick and lower, was unsuccessful, and wow, gets punished through the smoke.
Great shot by H-Win. Probably a little bit of luck involved there, but evening things up is Anomaly with that shot on the sly. So it's now 4-on-4. He's brought down to half health, and he's in good position to contest this mid to B. Interesting enough, he decides to push through the smoke over to Long. Guessing right, though, as it looks like WOOSAH is staged up for a split A take here. As RK picks up a headshot onto Whitehound. Kusta can't connect with his M4, finally does on a check, but the second one, H-Win, getting the trade out. He's gotten dinked there. He's brought down to 29 HP, but they do have the man advantage through WOOSAH. They're going to try to plant for Long as they have Dan with the op in the pit. This is a great position for them to be in, as Anomaly and Razor are not in a great position to retake here. They really like to have one of these guys up on Cat, but unfortunately they're both in CT. Going to flash for himself and get taken out by Dan from Long as Razor is able to headshot H-Win, but Dan, Johnny on the spot in the pit, gets himself a 2K on the round with that op.
Yeah, that was going to be difficult to retake without a smoke. They were hoping to maybe get a free pick at Long, and then maybe they were unsure if someone was opping it, so they might have had to play a little bit closer up, but it's tough to retake 2 from CT, as we saw. No, WOOSAH won that round. They did it by taking Cat. I think that a lot of this game is going to come down to aim, and if the setups are appropriate, it will just go in the favor of the CTs. But right now it's going to be a 2-1-2, which I think is the better way to play it. But at the same time, they're having trouble stopping Cat aggression. So maybe if they try to get their early pick up mid or on Cat in a lower or something like that, and then fall back to one of these setups, they would have a lot more success.
Yeah, we saw them, I think their initial round win when they finally got on the board was off of that very thing you said. They got the opening pick, fell back to their default setups, and then ultimately won the round as a result. But now it is all even 4-on-4. H-Win down to 11 HP, though. And again, that slow play from WOOSAH that we've seen pretty much throughout this match, except for that one save round with the pistol where they just kind of went full aggro. So the bomb is dropped at Palm Tree, and that frag there brings the man advantage back to the CTs. We're going to see, it looks like the number 9-man RK just trying to make sure that no one's going to push out Long. Going to pick up the bomb, and now they're going to move up Cat which is basically uncontested right now from the CTs, although it looks like Kusta now, well, he's rotating back and forth between long and watching Cat and CT. Now it looks like he has an idea that they will be coming from Catwalk, and here it comes. He looked away at the wrong time. There's Czech crossing into his field of view, but getting a headshot by Czech, which will open up the site, and they'll get the plant off. Whitehound has already made it to long, though. He's at plat, and he's going to wait for his teammates to rotate.
They've got a cat smoke. They have three players up there. This is going to be a tough one.
Yeah, Razor is smoked off a cat. He's just waiting for it to dissipate. Here comes Whitehound. He gets one. Razor gets a second. There's only one standing between them. It's Czech. As he gets dropped by Quicksilver, they should have plenty of time to defuse. Nice retake by Selfless.
Yeah, for sure. Razor jumped through that smoke at the right time when our player jumped back behind that wall, but he definitely should not have got away with that, as he did have to come through the smoke to do it, but good on him for getting it done, because that's what made the difference. So Selfless got a 4th round. They're looking like they're still in this. Actually, WOOSAH are on a save, and so they spend a lot of money on those rounds, and a lot of the rounds, I guess, come pretty close, because it doesn't seem like they have ever been able to buy twice on the back of a lost round.
Yeah, that's a great point, actually. You know, some of those rounds, except for the early ones, were so close that they were, weren't really able to bankroll, which is surprising on Terra's side because it's obviously cheaper. And you take a look on the save, they've dropped one gun. That's Anomaly. Oh, but they're going to meet the op of Quicksilver at long. They're lined up for him. He's got 2. Will he get the 3rd? Jumping up on top of the box. It's all up to Arcade, last man standing. He's got the bomb in his hand, so he's just hoping to maybe get this frag and get a plant off. Unable to do so. That CZ just too strong. Quicksilver holding fast by himself on A site, getting the 3K.
Not much to say about that. Pretty standard.
And like you said, just kind of winning off the back of a gun engagement, which you kind of said we'd see a lot of.
Right. And another buyout. I wonder what WOOSAH's plan is at this point. They've got a pretty good half, but they won't be feeling good about the fact that they blew a 6-0 lead. And that's going to, I think, really affect them. They're going to need to win at least one round, like super convincingly, to make them feel like they are the better team in this match. And for them to do that, they've got to outplay Selfless, which it seems like they either, win their engagements or run right into the trap of Selfless's good holds. I don't know how else to put it. But now they're going to go up Cat. It's spotted by Quicksilver. He saw 2 players going up. Now, Anomaly hasn't dropped off plat, which is great. Like, he's going to be up here, but, wow.
Ooh.
Pushed up a little too far.
Caster's curse. As soon as you say that, he loses his head to Czech. And actually looked like 2 of the CTs were pushed up Catwalk there. It's a little surprising there. As Czech has moved back to double doors. And you see Selfless tightening up. 2 of them in middle. Although they suspect that it might be a push onto the B side as Razor has moved back into the side along with his teammate Quicksilver. They're smoked off in B tons. And here comes the mid to B. Razor in great position to get the spray down. Oh, WOOSAH, what were you doing? You didn't see that coming. He threw a nade as well to perhaps give away his position, but they just didn't see it. Came storming out of the tunnels and ate a back full of bullets from Razor. So RK LMS once again picking up a nice headshot onto Whitehound. At this point, he's probably just looking to live to find another day.
Yeah, WOOSAH took a little bit too long to set up their execute. If they had gone into B when they got a pick on Cat, when you get a pick, the other team gets a little bit worried. They'll more than certainly try to rotate a player at least closer to window or outside of B, and that's what happened. B was completely empty, and then they had the mid to be ready, but they took so long to get down there that it just became a read that they were going to switch up. They're obviously not going Cat, so now they're going to go B, and so I feel like their fake executions are just a little bit too slow because they're not jumping in at the opportune time. Instead, what happened, it was the tunnel got smoked out. We had the player playing close left, that was Razor, and it was just free frags for him.
Yes, indeed. Opening shot through the smoke to Quicksilver and gets a second. Wow, RK. Ill-advised exposing yourself after your teammate gets dropped by that op, although they are on the save here. And we saw WOOSAH not really... it doesn't seem like they put a whole lot of thought into their save rounds. Which is surprising given that they had a pretty interesting pistol strat that won them, that initial round. It seems like on their saves thus far in this half, they've just kind of been, I don't want to say careless, but a little cavalier with how they play it.
Mm-hmm.
And with the way things are going, this could turn into an 8-7 half for Selfless. And like you said, WOOSAH starting out 6-0, they'll be absolutely disappointed with the way this half turned out with that kind of start.
Yeah, for sure.
It's looking like it's going to be an execute on the cat if they ever decide to make a move. But they don't have much to work with. H-Win did get himself an M4, and he is the point man. The bomb with check right behind him. Look at the stack! I love seeing that next level meta, literally.
Yeah, it was a lot better hold on cat. The way they defend A, it seems kind of risky because they don't like to do it from A plat. They never have a player at Goose. It's always a player down in CT coming back up, or a player at long, which can be pretty good. And op there especially can be really strong. But I don't know. WOOSAH are either just going up cat or they're going mid to B, and they're getting telegraphed as the half progresses. And yeah, I feel like at first I thought Selfless would have benefited from a little bit more of a dynamic CT setup, as we saw the first part of this half go 6-0 against them. But after they started adjusting more, I guess, I don't know, with their calls or just hitting their shots better, it seemed like they were confident in the fact that their setup would work, and it has been pretty good so far. But yeah, going up cat, kind of one at a time.
It seemed like they've settled down. I would agree. It's like you said, they didn't mix it up too much. It's just what they've been doing has been more effective. Because WOOSAH hasn't really mixed it up.
Yeah, exactly. We're just being telegraphed. And this is going to be a split here, but we got a good crossfire at long. Shut down this aggression.
That's the second frag for Kusta, picking up the headshot onto RK.
Dan's dead.
Oh, the touchdown nade will drop the bomb at the quarter of the blue box. That is an unfortunate position for the terrorists. And if I'm Whitehound, I'm going to wait for the cavalry to arrive. Although he's taking pot shots on the sly from distance. There's the frag. Nicely done. And H-Win, the LMS, once again, he gets taken down by Quicksilver. And as I suggested, it did turn out to be an 8-7 half after a 6-0 start for WOOSAH.
Yeah, and the adapting it's much better than coming out strong, because they're going to go into the second half. Selfless just feeling like they won that half way more than the score represents, and WOOSAH are not going to be feeling great about the fact that they were up 6-0 and only pulled one round after that. So, I thought we were about to see an 11-4, 12-3 type half. Turns out it's a losing half for WOOSAH. Pretty surprised.
Yeah, close as it comes. In a half, anyways. We'll have to see if that momentum does carry over for Selfless into the second half. But who knows? Maybe WOOSAH will feel more comfortable on the CT side. That remains to be seen. But we do appreciate you all joining us. Again, this is a CEVO-Main playoffs matchup. It's a best of one on Dust 2 in the upper bracket between, obviously, Selfless and WOOSAH. And we'll see a second best of one on Dust after this one. But here comes the second half. Obviously, if you're WOOSAH, you want to pick up this pistol round. You can afford to lose it. It's a close game, but just psychologically, I would feel at this point, all right, boys, we need to muster up. We need to, as Tallahassee said in Zombieland, nut up or shut up at this point.
Yeah, I think if WOOSAH don't win this, Selfless will easily run away with this game.
Yeah, because at that point it could just be, backbreaking as far as how did we start 6-0 and now we're in this precarious position. So
yeah,
I expect WOOSAH to play. I hope they play smart here. They were a little aggressive with the fast cat, and H-Win pays for it with 95 of his health. Yeah. As it looks like it's going to be a cat push for Selfless. Here they come. And contesting from Goose. There's one on site. It's H-Win. He's down. Oh, he gets the headshot on the Razor with that 5 HP. There's the cleanup kill from Whitehound. It's guns blazing right now as it's down to just 2 CTs, Check and Sly, and they are both in that unfavorable CT spawn position. But look at that shot! There's a nade kill from Check, followed by another one
Oh, wow.
As the CTs do pick it up. My goodness, they didn't even get the plant off, did Selfless.
No, yeah, they could have too. That would have enabled them to just only had to save one round instead. They were put in a position where they took so much damage they felt the need to contest, as I'm sure WOOSAH was onto the fact that they did hit a bunch of players a bunch of times. Surprised that they pulled that off, but I mean, this is the second pistol where I'm surprised that they won it, but they ended up doing it, and that's, you know, the pistol they definitely needed to make this a much closer game. I think they're still going to have a really hard time here, but ultimately, you know, it's all about the amount of rounds you win. So if you have a couple free rounds and, you know, you can catch the other team making mistakes later in the half, then you're gonna really remember the fact that you won the pistol.
Yeah, it gives you more margin for error down the road in a close game like this, which obviously they wouldn't have had if they lost it. So now it looks like Selfless going with the bunch formation. They're gonna smoke, flash into B. Here comes the rush. Sly spamming through the smoke with his FAMAS. He's able to pick up 2 without seeing anybody. H-Win coming in to clean up 2 more, and the 3K goes to Sly. Nice hold, although, you know, obviously it was an eco. Selfless opting for just kind of the vanilla rush.
Yeah, and not to much success at all, getting no players down. Yeah, they're pretty low on money. Did they end up buying that round? No,
I don't think so. I think they
had
just bought a few utility nades. They had at least the smoke and a couple flashes on.
All right, seemed like they're a little low, but that's gonna mean here. Well, that would be 1900 for the round, right?
Maybe did they go pistol armor? I didn't actually check. It was over so quickly. As H-Win getting open frag on a Quicksilver, being extremely aggro at catwalk. Looking like Selfless just wants to get this round over and get to the guns. Here they come storming out mid, and Check is in position to only get 1, though. They do get the trade out, having the man advantage, just zerging through the doorway.
That's a good word for it.
Now Razor was able to pick up a FAMAS, and he's just going to be looking to either save this or maybe drop a gun on his way out. There's a minute remaining. He's got time to work with, but the bomb is dropped in mid, so he really has no chance of going to pick it up. It's just in too isolated a spot, no man's land, so to speak. And yeah, it looks like he's just going to hang out and save. And interesting enough, WOOSAH not really hunting him.
Yeah, they're going to play it out. It's always better to kill the T after the timer anyway, so as long as you don't, you know, throw with your teammate one at a time, you got the bomb down, there's really no reason to move until afterwards.
And we'll have to see if they do decide to hunt him down, because I don't think they have any intel on where he is right now.
Yeah, he could be like all the way back in T-spawn with a whoa, he's actually going out.
As soon as we say that, he exposes himself, and H-Win taking him out with the quickness with his M4.
Sometimes you don't want to, if you think that, you know, the CTs are encroaching on you, you don't want to be in a position where they're going to make you die after the timer, so you go and die early on. So I feel like he felt a little bit unsafe there, the fact that there were 4 CTs alive. We should have a lead here. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that they've won 2 pistols, but they could prove me wrong by winning this round.
Yeah, it's true. It's going to be up to the gun rounds. We did see them win the initial gun round in the first half to get to that 6-0 mark, but after that it was kind of all downhill, as they were only able to pick up 1 more round after that initial 6-0 start. We'll have to see how things fare in the gun round here in the second half. Selfless looking a lot like WOOSAH did, as they've got 3 staged up in middle. The bomb already moving down the ramp, and it's looking like they're going to head up catwalk with 2. Anomaly is the point man, and actually they're going to back off a little bit as they get smoked off. Here comes a bank shot nade, hoping to do a little bit of damage, but there's no one on plat, so that'll be a wasted nade for Kusta. And looking a lot like WOOSAH did in their terrorist gun rounds, just kind of playing patiently, trying to gather some intel, hoping that maybe the CTs will make a mistake and give up an easy frag. But I don't think we'll see that from WOOSAH. They played patiently on the T side. I expect them to do much of the same here on CT as the opening frags go to check. A 2-for-1 trade out at mid double doors, which is pretty good. It's kind of what you want as a CT.
Wow.
Whitehound with the 1-tap through the smoke onto Sly. That was a big-time frag, which is going to open up the B site. They should be able to get the plant off here if they play it smart. Whitehound checking double doors. It's clear. Here comes the bomb. It'll take a little bit too long to plant. Great play by Whitehound, baiting the bomb plant to get that easy frag, bringing it to a 2-on-2, and Dan, he's only got 5 HP and an AWP, so this is going to be a tough retake. They do have kits, so they've got the time to work with. As RK gets the frag, gets 2.
Wow.
So as soon as I say it'll be a difficult retake, RK gets the 2K and proves me wrong.
Yeah, I thought they were going to win that round. I'm surprised. That was a, here Whitehound walking around in sight. I think both the players there knew that they were going to engage at some point. He hit a really nice flick into the smoke, took our player out at the back boxes, and made that run possible. They ended up losing against RK, who just got 2. I'm not sure how that happened so easily, but we should have closed it out. I think that at the beginning of the round, when they just shut down that B, it was just a straight-up failed mid to B, and then it turned into a really bad round where Whitehound got his pick, got one coming in window off that plant noise, and it looked like downhill for them, but they made the most out of it, obviously.
In the stack. Oh, that was not successful. They stacked on Catwalk, did WOOSAH, and Dan gets taken out from lower B. Nice patient frag from Anomaly. And we'll have to see if in this gun round Selfless can get it turned around in the second half. It's starting much like the first did. Again, that went 6-0 to WOOSAH, and they did that off the back, the pistol round win, and then winning the initial gun round and then getting a save win after that. We'll have to see if they can continue that momentum here early, but for Selfless, you might be starting to get a little more worried here, given that the momentum was completely on your side at the close of the first half.
Yeah. The strats seem a little bit one-dimensional as compared to the matches we saw yesterday. It's hard to, but
I think that's a great good point. We've seen a lot of basics, nothing really too flashy.
So yeah, it's like everyone knows what people are going to do, and then it comes down to making the most of your engagements. The holds are pretty good for WOOSAH at this point.
Yeah, it looks like most of the opening frags engagements are going the way of the CTs, as it's looking like they're going to try to take A in a split take. Whoa, Kusta! That swing shot, my goodness, that was nasty. So this is actually looking very good for Selfless.
No,
They've got control
plan.
of the A site, but they need to plan. Oh, no, they didn't have time!
Yeah.
Sly, smart, saves his gun, and big-time mistake for Selfless. They just couldn't get the bomb there quick enough to get it planted.
Yeah, and that was what's good about what Selfless is doing on CT side. Holding off long enough so that you're forcing players to execute. No, the issue there is that they just couldn't get the bomb down in time. So they executed a little bit too late, even though they got their frags out really quickly. So they executed way too late, probably. And good on WOOSAH for delaying them that long.
Yeah, nicely played by them. I guess just being patient. Obviously, they dropped.
Whoa. This is a fast mid to B right now. Absolutely no. Oh, wow.
Whoa, are you kidding me? Dan is able to actually pick up one from behind.
Oh,
This is some serious aggression from the terrorists, as they are able to get into B with that pincer move from B tunnels and middle. They paid for it with a couple of their terrorist lives getting into the site, just that quick rush through mid, as Dan picked up one with the op from behind. I like that aggression. I mean, you don't see that very much. There's nothing really calculated about it. It's just, hey guys, just run right at him. But it's down to just Razor. He's got one. Cannot bring down the final two, and WOOSAH will get the defuse on the retake. So Selfless, I guess a good idea. They got the bomb planted, but they expended too much energy doing it.
Yeah, I'm surprised they won that retake. A lot of surprising things happening. They were able to do it though. Their retakes are just on point. And I mean, once they got into the site, I thought it was over again, because Razor basically took no damage from our player who's supposed to be defending against tunnels. And even though we had one player in window trading out for one, it's obviously not worthwhile. A 4v4 retake should always favor terrorists, but at the end of the day, they pulled it off. So WOOSAH surprising me, I think. But some missed shots. I mean, like, some frags are, I feel like, being handed to them that they're not getting, and they're still winning the round. So it's a little weird to me.
It's sloppy, but all that matters is the round wins.
Mm-hmm. At the end of the day.
Absolutely. And curiously enough, the second half starting exactly like the first did, 6-0 for WOOSAH to give them a 13-8 lead. Will Savage be able to turn it, or Savage, Freudian slip there, will Selfless be able to turn it around, much like they did in the first half? We'll have to see.
So Razor's going to jump into CT, and then you're going to go up mid to B, I think.
Quicksilver's actually going to run over the molly. Feet on fire. Can he get the frag? He does get one as Kusta picks up a second, but Sly in that boost spot at B tons was able to pick up the one coming from B. But unfortunately, he was already shot in the back from window as the mid to B was successful for Selfless. So they get the bomb planted, and this time it's going to be a lot tougher retake. They've got 3 alive, and Dan and RK are a lot further away than they were in the previous round.
Yeah, RK's going to need to check. Yeah, okay.
Smart positioning. Dan will run away to save his op to live to fight another day, and WOOSAH, much like the first half, will finally give up a round.
Right. Much like the first half.
Exactly like it. It's now 6-1, actually.
Right, exactly. And it's to no surprise, you know, I think a couple of the rounds that Selfless won, or Selfless didn't win, I feel like it, you know, it should have been on them. It was their round to lose, and they ended up losing it. Now the fact that they did the exact same strategy and won it means that WOOSAH aren't defending as, I don't know, they don't have the appropriate setups, I guess, and you know, Selfless putting on the pressure that early makes it hard to read, and that's what they're abusing, and that's good. But WOOSAH should be able to stop, you know, similar plays if they happen again. And Dan can really just see the flashbang on this guy's hip. Okay.
Yeah, I was just waiting for him to take the shot because you could just barely see it. Just a sliver of his silhouette. As they're smoking off double doors and they're pushing up Cat fast. If they move quickly, they can take over the A site and overwhelm the over-rotating CTs, but they're just moving a bit too slowly here, Launders. As Dan has already gotten into position in elevator. And now it looks like they're going to back off.
This is when they go mid to B. No one's jumping off of Cat, though. But they're still going to be able to do it. A lot of onus on SLI to frag out here, but he's only got a P250.
The flank from H-Win as a very nice double kill from Anomaly. Basically a 180.
Whoa.
As he picks up the bomb, he should be able to get into the site and plant. It's going to be a one-on-one against him and Dan. And Dan has a kit. It'll be interesting to see if he's... And it looks like he's going to go for it. He's going to pick up the AK. Smart choice. He's got himself a flashbang. Here it comes. There's one in front of him in the window. And Anomaly guessed right. Picking up the headshot to win the round. Another close one. But Selfless getting 2 in a row. And the momentum swinging back towards their side. Just like it did in the first half.
Yeah, he really had a lot of time to defend, to think about how to deal with that 1v1. And... really didn't use any of it. You know, if you can defuse the bomb in the last 5 seconds of the before it explodes, then you should try to do that because you have a lot of time to wait for mistakes to happen. And you know, he ran in there like he was pressed for time when he wasn't. But it was ultimately an eco round that came really close, so they did a pretty good job there. But they're on a double save, so it's unfortunate that they weren't able to win that round.
Yeah, so this is just going to make it easier for Selfless to narrow that gap. But if you're WOOSAH, you might be getting a little bit worried because it's like, oh no, guys, are we going to let the same thing happen here in the second half? We started out so great. 6-0. And now, 6-2. As Kusta gets that frag on the slide. The Deagle, will it connect for H-Win? He's been one of the high fraggers, or he's the top fragger on the server right now. 22-7 and 18. 59-point game so far. Looking to do some damage with that Deagle as Selfless moves back over to Catwalk. But they're guessing wrong here because that's where WOOSAH is stacked.
Mm-hmm. They could still do it, but there's the opportunity for a couple kills. And whoa, he saw that.
It's the flashbang. Nice headshot
shot
from Razor. It was basically, ooh, and a second one on to Dan. He checked it twice just to make sure. That first shot was like a whack-a-mole shot. He just appeared and lost his head. So the bomb gets planted. H-Win and H-Win is way on the other side of the map, so really not in a good position to help his teammate RK. They don't really have anything to save, so I would think they'd just go at him. Try to drop some guns if they can. Well, actually, they have armor. Excuse me. They do have... H-Win has head armor in his Deagle and Flash, so worth saving.
Yeah.
Given that there's 5 alive for the Selfless and just the odds of them getting any sort of success on this retake is nil. But you look at Selfless on the full hunt here, and it looks like they'll actually be successful with their save as H1 and RK do live to fight another day.
As requested here. So,
Take a look. Maybe some ping issues. Oh, that it looks like Selfie has dropped a player. So we'll wait for them to get back in the server. 13-11. It's 6-3 in the half after another 6-0 start for WOOSAH and Selfless getting back into this game. What do you think, Launders? Do you think it'll be much like the first half where eventually Selfless does eke it out because of their gun round victories?
Yeah, well, yeah, because of the way that they can adapt better to WOOSAH, who don't really, I don't know, it's
They don't
different
mix
on
it up.
CT, but yeah, they don't mix it up, and they don't respond, right? Like they let mid to Bs, they've let four times they've allowed the bomb to go down in mid to Bs, and twice of those times they've allowed retakes, but you know, you shouldn't be planning for retakes. You should be planning to stop that stuff, you know, before they get in the site, because the retakes are really risky. You can't really it's kind of like a clutch. You can't really count on those to win your games.
It's a low percentage win.
Yeah,
and not only that, it's affecting your economy
and
because you're dropping so many guns in the process.
And it should get harder and harder to pull off the exact same strategy as opposed to easier and easier, because the first 2 times they were able to retake, and then the second 2 times they weren't.
And this time we do see a wrinkle in the gameplay of WOOSAH as they come storming through middle. Full-on rush on CT side in a gun round, but unfortunately they guessed wrong as they gave up the A site, and the bomb will get planted by Whitehound. Dan with the peekaboo shot through the smoke onto Razor.
They should still win this.
This is definitely winnable because the terrorists are really spread out. The number 4 man, Kusta, is really in no position to help Quicksilver. They've got 3 on catwalk. Oh, nice headshot by Whitehound. He's the only man on the site. But he gets piercing shot by Dan, and it's up to Quicksilver, who's stranded in the pit. Here comes the deagle from H-Win, and the shot connects. Bomb gets defused, and WOOSAH back on the board to stop the momentum of Selfless.
And yeah, I guess CT's a little different. That's something new that you don't see all the time. It was like a push split mid or something, and it ended up working out really well for them. So that might push them over the edge. If they stuck to their standard setups, they would have probably given up more and more rounds to Selfless, who I feel like we're just exploiting the fact that WOOSAH were going to be susceptible to the same thing over and over again, and they responded well. And you know, on the back of those 2 pistol rounds, you're looking at a point where you can just pull 2 more crazy rounds like that off, and you win the game. You have more outs.
Yeah, more room for error, like we said earlier. And I think that was a great point that you said they hadn't mixed it up enough. As soon as they did, they get back on the board here in the second half. Yeah. So very nicely done by WOOSAH and Selfless. Now they're going to have to adjust once again. Although WOOSAH moving back to the default. And they definitely look a little more passive off of that crazy rush.
See, like, if H1 gets smoked out, right, in mid to B, he could just counter flash and then stand on the right side of that smoke, unless he thinks it's going to be a cat play. But if you don't think it's going to be a cat play, then you really shouldn't back up into the smoke and leave your other man out mid there to dry. You should flash through that smoke for him and maybe come out yourself. It's really common to do it, but you need the good read for that to be a thing that you do. But ultimately, it seems like the mid to Bs are where they're most weak, and so they should be a little bit more wary of that, as opposed to the cat takes. It's a lot easier to retake A than it is B.
And it actually looks like they're trying to sell multiple mid to B, but there's only one there. It's just Razor. He's going to get that entry frag onto Edwin.
Oh, wow.
H-Win. He gets check as well. So it's all up to the number 7 man on the site. He gets 1, but gets traded out by Kusta. Nice execute by Selfless. They'll get the bomb planted at B, and it'll be up to Dan and RK once again to try their hand at a retake. They both, well, excuse me, only RK has a kit. And it looks like they are not going to test this one. I think they're just going to look for perhaps exit kills. Nope. RK going to move away for the save, as does Dan. Selfless back on the board again. So it's starting to get more back and forth here in the latter rounds.
Oh, he needs to save. Okay. Yeah, he needs to fully commit to saving as opposed to looking for exits. They want to hang on to these guns 100%. This is hugely important that they do, because
yeah, you take a look at their money. Their teammates will not be able to buy.
Yeah.
Although I guess maybe they could force if they share some guns.
They might think about it.
Looks like they're going to.
Yeah. So yeah. So it's good that they could save those. The fact that Razor could come out mid and get 2, like, that's like absurd. Like that's
ideal scenario for that play right there, because he was the only one on the mid to B.
Yeah, I mean, but they had two players like right and left mid, and they both peeked one at a time, and then both died. Like it's terrible.
Yeah, it's kind of a textbook mistake there, something that you shouldn't be doing. It's particularly, in the playoffs here. These are the kind of plays that are going to cost you really crucial rounds, as we see a stack long by Selfless.
Nice shot. Ooh, nice shot.
Dan's just so good playing with that op. From the plat, he's flashed off and has to duck behind the box.
Selfless need this round.
They really do. And they haven't done much damage at all, as Dan is just on point from A site. It's kind of a showdown between him and Quicksilver. But Dan's smart. He's there. He exposes himself, and Quicksilver makes him pay for it with that flick shot. Very nice.
He didn't need to peek it. He ended up hitting Quicksilver, which is crazy. But Quicksilver with the even crazier shot hits him back and kills him. So
yeah, it was interesting. I was just getting ready to say Dan playing smart, not going to peek, and right as I thought it, he peeked and got taken out. So 30 seconds remaining. We'll have to see what Selfless tries to do. They definitely need to go for this, like you said, Lars. They can't afford to save here, I don't think. And here we go. Not a great smoke for the cross. The bomb gets dropped. Quicksilver, you need to move with your teammate because the site was not clear. And he is the LMS. Doesn't last long at all as RK gets himself a 2K on the round to match Dan. WOOSAH 1 round away from the victory here.
Yeah, and it was just the aim battles, right? Like, it came down to the fact that Dan was able to get 2 good kills, went for a third, wasn't able to do it. Didn't really put the round in jeopardy in the sense that it was still a big man advantage, and they played the rest of the round out carefully, which is the important part. They did some damage. He even got a hit off on Quicksilver, and that's how they won it. Now, they're within one of winning the game, and Selfless are on their last round, possibly because they only have 2 rifles. But they're going for their butter and butter mid to B, and I wonder if it's going to get shut down.
Oh, no, check in great position. No one checked the right corner when you came through double doors, and that's unfortunate. But
2v2,
already down to a 2v2, so this is definitely a winnable round for Selfless. Unfortunately, it's brought down to Silver, and Sly wins that one-on-one, getting the headshot, and WOOSAH taking the victory 16-12, largely off the back of their pistol round.